Today, we're settling one of animation's biggest debates once and for all: Pixar versus DreamWorks. Who is the true king of animated movies? One studio transformed animated storytelling forever with emotional masterpieces that continue to move audiences decades later. The other revolutionized animated comedy, delivered unforgettable adventures, and created some of the most beloved franchises in movie history. Let's get into it.
Let's start with a simple fact. Pixar changed animation forever. When Toy Story debuted in 1995, it wasn't just the first fully computer-animated feature film. It was proof that animation could tell stories every bit as powerful as live-action cinema. Since then, Pixar has built a catalog that few studios in any genre can match. Look at the evidence. Finding Nemo gave us an unforgettable story about family and perseverance. The Incredibles delivered one of the greatest superhero films ever made, animated or otherwise. Ratatouille turned a rat who wanted to cook into an inspiring story about creativity and following your dreams. Then there are the emotional masterpieces. Up opens with a sequence that can bring grown adults to tears without saying a word. WALL-E tells a touching love story with minimal dialogue while exploring environmental themes. Inside Out helped children and adults alike understand the importance of emotions. Coco celebrated family, culture, and memory in a way that resonated around the world. What separates Pixar from everyone else is consistency. Their films aren't simply entertaining, they're meaningful. They stay with audiences long after the credits roll. DreamWorks may create crowd pleasers, but Pixar creates modern classics.
Changed animation forever? That's impressive. But DreamWorks changed what animation could be. When Shrek arrived in 2001, it flipped the fairy tale formula upside down and became a cultural phenomenon. Suddenly, animation wasn't just about heartfelt stories. It could be sharp, self-aware, hilarious, and appealed just as much to adults as children. And that was only the beginning. Madagascar gave us some of the most recognizable animated characters of the 2000s. Kung Fu Panda blended action, comedy, and surprisingly deep life lessons into one of animation's strongest trilogies. How to Train Your Dragon delivered breathtaking visuals, incredible world building, and an emotional story that evolved alongside its audience. DreamWorks has also shown incredible versatility. The Prince of Egypt tackled faith, freedom, and leadership with maturity rarely seen in animation. Megamind cleverly deconstructed superhero tropes years before it became trendy. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish pushed visual storytelling forward with a bold artistic style that critics and audiences loved. While Pixar often focuses on emotional reflection, DreamWorks excels at creating unforgettable experiences. Their films are exciting, endlessly rewatchable, and packed with personality. They don't just entertain audiences, they create cultural moments.
DreamWorks certainly knows how to entertain, but entertainment alone doesn't make a studio the king. Many of DreamWorks' biggest hits are heavily tied to the era in which they were released. Shrek is beloved, but much of its humor relies on pop culture references that don't land as strongly for newer audiences. Films like Shark Tale and even portions of Madagascar feel increasingly dated because they're rooted in trends of their time. Pixar's greatest films don't have that problem. The themes of friendship in Toy Story, family in Finding Nemo, purpose in Soul, and growing up in Inside Out are timeless. That's why these movies continue to resonate with entirely new generations. And let's talk consistency. For every How to Train Your Dragon or Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, DreamWorks has produced films like Home, Turbo, or Shark Tale that fail to leave much of a lasting impact. Meanwhile, Pixar's catalog includes Toy Story, Monsters, Inc., Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, Ratatouille, WALL-E, Up, Inside Out, and Coco. That's one of the greatest runs of animated films ever assembled. DreamWorks creates great movies. Pixar creates history.
History? Let's not pretend Pixar's perfect. For every WALL-E or Coco, there's a Cars 2, The Good Dinosaur, or Lightyear. Pixar's reputation often benefits from nostalgia, while DreamWorks has continued evolving and reinventing itself. Look at the variety in our catalog. One year, we're delivering the epic fantasy storytelling of How to Train Your Dragon. Another year, we're producing the biblical drama of The Prince of Egypt. Then we shift gears entirely with the superhero satire of Megamind, the heist comedy of The Bad Guys, or the artistic brilliance of Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. And let's talk about emotional storytelling, because DreamWorks can absolutely compete there. The bond between Hiccup and Toothless is every bit as moving as the relationship between Woody and Buzz. The final act of How to Train Your Dragon 3 delivers an emotional farewell that rivals anything Pixar has done. More recently, The Wild Robot proved that DreamWorks can deliver heartfelt storytelling without sacrificing the adventure and excitement audiences love. DreamWorks doesn't rely on one formula. We constantly reinvent ourselves while still delivering the humor, action, and imagination families crave. Pixar may aim for your tears. DreamWorks earns your laughter, your excitement, and your heart.
At the end of the day, Pixar stands alone because they elevated animation into an art form that commands strong, universal respect. Their catalog includes some of the most celebrated animated films ever created: Toy Story, Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, Ratatouille, WALL-E, Up, Inside Out, Soul, and Coco. These aren't simply successful movies, they're cultural landmarks. Passionate, Pixar consistently explores themes of love, loss, family, identity, purpose, and growth while pushing the boundaries of animation technology and storytelling. Their films win awards, break box office records, and most importantly, leave lasting emotional impacts on audiences around the world. The true king isn't the studio that gets the loudest laugh. It's the studio whose stories still move people decades later. Pixar built that throne, and they're still sitting on it.
DreamWorks earned the crown by proving animation could be anything. It could be the fairy tale satire of Shrek, the martial arts adventure of Kung Fu Panda, the epic fantasy of How to Train Your Dragon, the historical drama of The Prince of Egypt, the superhero comedy of Megamind, the artistic spectacle of Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, or the emotional journey of The Wild Robot. No studio embraces variety quite like DreamWorks. Their films are fun, bold, creative, and endlessly entertaining. They produce iconic characters, memorable quotes, unforgettable action sequences, and stories that audiences return to again and again. While others chase perfection, DreamWorks embraces imagination, and that willingness to take risks has produced some of the most beloved animated movies of all time. DreamWorks didn't just compete with the best, they became one of the best.
All right, you've heard the arguments. Now it's your turn to decide the winner. Is Pixar the true king of animated movies? Or is DreamWorks the true king of animated movies? Also, what are your top favorite Pixar and DreamWorks movies? Debate your thoughts in the comments below. Be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to stay notified of future videos. If you enjoyed this debate and want more, check out our debate between Marvel and DC to see who has the best superhero franchise, or check out our debate playlist. Thank you for watching, and remember, insight prevails over division. So let's continue the conversation.